Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mimi Plochet, and I am the Artistic Director of the Chicago International Film Festival. And it's my great pleasure to be here this afternoon with Orit Fokus, the Director of Cinema Sabaya, which is playing in our Women in Cinema program. First of all, congratulations on the film, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So we're so pleased to have the film. You know, to me, it's both like a really powerful and sensitive portrait of many things, including like women's fellowship, and maybe more importantly, the transformative power of cinema, the way that it can bring people together, can encourage or foster cross-cultural understanding, and also give voice to people to tell their own story. So from my understanding, this is based on your own experience. So I was wondering if you could start by talking a bit about kind of where the story came from and, what your own experience with teaching has been.
So actually, the idea came to me from just after I finished film school.
Uh-huh.
And my mother was actually one of the participants in such a program.
Okay.
She really is the mayor consultant for a women issue in a small town called Hadera.
Okay.
And that gave me the idea because the platform was interesting. It was Arab and Jewish women that learned how to um, uh, still photography, how to use the cameras. And then I started thinking about video, and I started to do the research by actually doing those courses
Okay.
and myself. So it was like it was for the movie, but it was like my job for a few years after all.
So can you tell us a little bit more about like the setting like of Hadera and the community there? Because the idea of these workshops being offered, it seemed like mostly for free to people who worked for the city or were retired. So could you give us a little bit of context for the community where these women are living in the film?
So actually, it's not really in Hadera. It's where I worked called Givat Haviva.
No.
It's a center for coexistence. And Hadera is really located in north of Israel. It's a small city, and there are many Arab cities next to it, and also villages. And a lot of those women work in Hadera,
Okay.
but they don't really meet. So they're trying to make a connection through programs like this.
Yeah, so I'm so curious since you taught several courses, I imagine. I mean, the script is part based on like real experiences, but also, bringing them together and using your own kind of creative process to tell this story. So I'm really curious about the casting of both the director and then also the 8 women participants in the program, because they feel like such like real kind of ordinary people, and it's clear like you're bringing together like a cross section of the different populations, whether it's age or experience, which I think brings such a unique quality to the film. But if you could talk about one, scripting kind of these different women and also the casting process for them.
So Rona, the teacher, is Dana Ivgi, which is a very famous and well-known actor in Israel, and she's amazing. And the work with her was really working like with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And the women in the class are some of them has no experience at all, like Carmela, the one that lives in the yacht. She really lives in the yacht, and this is her dog and everything. But the some of them were like actress in the past, like a Watef. She's actually a very religious Christian. She's not
Okay.
a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And we found her through research of old Israeli movies.
Uh-huh.
She didn't participate in a film for years.
Uh-huh.
And actually, I had to convince her to do it.
To come back.
Yeah. And there's Amal Murkus, which is a very famous singer in Israel.
Ah, she's
And
great. Yeah.
she's a singer, yeah. And there's Ruti Landau, which is Gila. She's a theater actress. So it's mixed. It's also women that never were in front of camera and yeah, and actors.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really interesting bringing all of these different actors together, or non-actors and actors together, because I think there's like a naturalism in the acting that like you achieve an evenness throughout. So what was the process of like workshopping with them, or kind of getting them all on the same page? Because I think there's a beautiful, like I said, naturalness, but also an evenness to that, partly achieved through like a more documentary style, but also through their performances.
So I actually built it like a course for
Mhm.
real.
Yeah.
We had only 12 days of shooting.
Okay.
So we did it, we shot chronologically, and every session was like 1 day of
Mhm.
shooting, a little bit more sometimes. And each of them had like a very deep connection to the woman she's playing, and some of it was based on the actor herself. I changed a lot in the script after casting
Okay. Interesting.
the ages, and so they were all connected. It was them, but with a mass,
Right.
some kind of mass. And they also reacted naturally when they saw the video shot by the women, because they never saw it,
Yeah.
and they really shot it themselves.
Yeah. I was going to
So
ask where those videos came from. You had
so
them,
some
you
of
gave
them,
them each a camera. Yeah.
yeah, I gave them cameras, but I also told them what to do.
Okay.
Like I told Carmela to interview the sea, and she did it. But Etty, for instance, she shot an actor. It's not a real husband.
Okay.
So we were there with her, me and the cinematographer, and so it's part scripted, part what
Uh-huh.
they did themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's also an element like when they're together in the course of improvisation as well, like you said, with in terms of the reactions. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Were the homework assignments, or the assignments that they were given, are these based on assignments that you have given
That I did.
throughout, and like selecting the ones that were maybe the most evocative in terms of response?
Yes. In my groups, there were less. The women not always did the assignments,
Okay.
so that's the difference. Because in the film, they all almost everybody participate. But yeah, their place and the letter, it's things that I did in my courses. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because it becomes very personal, and in a way, by I think, this type of course with those types of exercises or assignments, it becomes very personal, right?
Yeah.
Very quickly. And I was just thinking, like, of course, there's references to it, but kind of almost like these are become therapy sessions for the women.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about thinking about kind of cinema as a type of therapy.
For me, it's for sure a kind of therapy as a filmmaker. But also the women themselves went through processes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into the details, but some of them really relived some things from their lives, and it really helped some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like therapy, because I'm not a psychologist, but it has power when you that's also what the film is about.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe in power of cinema to help. Yeah, it has a lot of power.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's like you said, like for your own like individual therapy, either as a filmmaker or as a viewer, right? But also, I was just thinking, at the festival, we often talk about cinema as a way of bringing people together and like engendering like cultural exchange or conversation, and that becomes very clear in the course. And so I was wondering if you could talk about scripting those scenes where there are those confrontations between the women, sometimes smaller and sometimes larger. Whether it could be based on experience, age, or of course religion.
So, for instance, the political fight that they had
Yeah.
in the second session,
Mm.
it became really real in the set because a real agenda of the actresses could arise there.
Right.
So uh, it was like an hour of a break that we need after just to because it was much more than what it is in the film because I didn't want it to be the main issue.
Right.
But yeah, if I understood your question, it really became personal.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one moment, I think. And also for Suad, the exercise a lot that she did with the letter, she worked with her own uh, pain and with her own experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that kind of sequence or the last couple with her as the focus at the end are so powerful. Obviously, I also think it's interesting to think about you like making a film in which you mirror yourself in it, and there's a character that is somehow not, of course, never completely, but somehow reflective of you, and that there's this issue that's brought up at the end where the participants kind of turn on her and say, you haven't been honest with us. This is really only about you making your own film. And so in some ways it becomes meta because of course you have a film at the end of this that you've made based on these experiences. And it, becomes this kind of, I guess, maybe moral or ethical question that you're posing within your own film about your film. So could you talk a little bit about kind of that self-reflection that you include in the film?
Yeah, it was a big question because in the script it was like the main issue. But after working with the actresses and thinking more about the film with them, I understood I don't want it to be the main focus. Um, so Rona's character, a lot of things went out
Mhm.
because I didn't think her conflict is the most interesting conflict in the end. But I wanted to point it because I have a lot of dilemmas when I did the film. I also thought about doing it in a documentary way because I had amazing women that I could maybe talk with them and do it. But I thought in the end that the narrative way and the fiction way is the best way to do this film.
Mhm.
So I won't have to deal with using the real stories
Mhm.
and the injured some of the women even.
Right.
Yeah, so I found this way to tell the stories that were interesting for me and putting them on other characters.
And have you shown the film to some of the women who have participated in the courses with you over the years? I'm so curious about that and what the
I
reaction.
invited them. They couldn't come to Jerusalem, but I'm gonna do a special screening for them.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
I'd be so curious to hear what their reaction to it to it.
yeah, it's not like they can recognize themselves
Right. No,
exactly.
no, but
They
just the
changed a
experience,
lot.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, they can recognize the themes that we
Yeah.
talked about.
Right. Um, I was wondering if any of the women that you've worked with, or I guess even in your imagination, the characters that are in the film, would go on to use kind of cinema or storytelling as something that whether it's actively doing it, continuing, but as like an empowerment, way of kind of self empowerment.
So Joanna, the actor of Suad, is already started. She's learning editing,
Okay.
and maybe she'll start a special course of cinema of 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really fell in love. And also Carmela, she's making a film about her sister. Yeah, it's kind of got to them.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
for
love that.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, like as we've been talking about, the film is so much about kind of I mean, and I guess even like you were saying, the purpose of the program, whether it was originally photography or film, is really about this kind of cross-cultural understanding or mutual coexistence. And so I was wondering if you had plans for the film to kind of tour in different places, um, to really start kind of creating these conversations and maybe kind of moving kind of this idea of mutual understanding forward.
Yeah, I think when the movie will go on screens in Israel, I would like to have um, like a social, I forgot the word, like
And
someone that, yeah,
engagement.
so
Yeah.
yeah, in the Arab societies, I want to. We're already thinking about screening it in East Jerusalem for Arab women that doesn't speak Hebrew, and yeah, I would like it to be as much as wider that it can be, also for men, not only for women.
Right. Yeah, and also like imagining screenings where you're bringing people together, whether it's men and women, or kind of like you're saying, Arabic speakers and Hebrew speakers from across Israel. And then I guess my last question is, I was wondering how, for you, the process of making this film, well, whether it's beginning with the courses and the research and then all the way through to the end, how maybe it's changed you and your perspective as a filmmaker.
It's changed me a lot. I think I can't be the same after this because I understood that my desire to control is what's stopping me getting into this naturalism that I fell in love with.
Mhm.
So the script for me, it was also before, but now it's really like a way. It's just an offer
Mhm.
to fill it with truth, with the life itself. Because I saw many things that were like written in the script. They were less. They were less than what they brought. So yeah, being precise and knowing what you want is sometimes an obstacle for a filmmaker, I think.
Yeah, like being open to it and then trusting your actors. And I just think it's really interesting that trust is also such a central theme as well in the film. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, congratulations on the film. Congratulations on the award at the Jerusalem Film Festival.
thank you very much.
I hope the film has a long life touring around the world and also around Israel.
Thank you. I wish.
Uh,
Thank you. It was very interesting.
Great. Well, best of luck, and we'll be in touch. I'm excited for the audiences who haven't seen it yet to see the film. So thank you.
Thank you.